Hey, what's going on everybody? It's Joe from Gadgetry Tech, and today we're talking about the Westone Mach 60 IEM. This tiny little IEM has a not so tiny asking price of $1,100. It's a triple driver system. Basically, it's two pairs of BAs on the bass, two pairs of BAs for mids, and two pairs of BAs for the highs. A balanced armature driver is just one way of producing sound. This doesn't use any other driver type. It's just crossovered for different frequencies. Now, for full transparency, this was sent to me for review by Westone. It won't affect what I say about it. No monetary exchange occurred, and I will have purchase links in the description below. If the purchase links generate any extra revenue for the channel, like an affiliate link, I will disclose that in the description below. I never set anything up prior to filming, so I just want to be upfront. So let's get into it. Now at $1,100, you're going to expect some accessories in the box, at least when you compare it to some other competitors. As you get more premium, they get kind of ridiculous now with the unboxing presentation and all the stuff that's included. This one isn't bad. It gives you a few options. So one is the Pelican case, which is literally just a Pelican case with a sticker on it. It's not the worst thing. Pelican cases are good for a reason. It has a watertight ring on the outside and then this nice little like foam liner. Everything's presented in here when you buy it, but these things can be removed. I say that because I don't want to keep taking the wire off. If I were to travel with the Pelican case, I would prefer to just take a few blocks out just to stuff them in. Now it does come with a soft cloth case as well, and inside the case is a little warranty card. This feels really nice, and it actually has a like microfiber on one side with a softer, almost like a suede velvet type material on the other. So for keeping them clean, it doubles as that. The inside is lined in the same way. Now, ear tips are one of the most important accessories any IEM can come with, and I'm pleased to say that the Mach 60 comes with just a ridiculous amount of tips. The tips are important because this is what's helping transfer the sound of the IEM into your ear canal so you can hear what it's producing. If you have a poor seal, which usually comes from the inappropriately sized tip, you will lose bass response. It'll affect how you perceive other frequencies. And as soon as that seal breaks, the IEM is going to sound pretty bad. So experiment with tips. Just because one works, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the right one. Make sure it's not too tight where it's uncomfortable. Make sure it's not so loose where it's falling out or the seal is always breaking. So I typically like the sound quality more on the memory foam because this does come with memory foam and silicone tips. Experiment with both. Foam has a really nice seal to it, but I have kind of a skin reaction to it. So I'm usually relegated to the silicone tips. Now, it comes with a lot, and it also comes with a little earwax cleaner too to keep the tips clean. But it comes with a lot because this is kind of a proprietary tip and bore system, which a lot of people aren't going to like hearing, but there are some benefits to this. To demonstrate, because I'm an objectivist, I want to show you some measurements. Now, the bore of this IEM is so ridiculously small. And then just to put it in comparison, if you look at the size of the Mach 60 next to something like the Audio Volare, I mean, I can't even get it to be remotely close to the right orientation to not hide the size. I mean, there's no getting around how much smaller the Mach 60 is. The bore size is part of that, which is what obviously goes in your ear. Now, the Volare doesn't have massive bore. It's decent, but I'm going to measure it just so you can see. And I'm going to measure the inner part, not where the lip is. And I'll give you those millimeters here. 5.5 millimeters. Now, something like the Truth-Ear X Critical, the Truth-Ear and Critical collab, the red, those have like 6.4 millimeters of a bore size. Same with some others. So that will produce more pressure on your ear, which causes discomfort. Now, look at this. I'm getting 3.27, so let's just say 3.25. There's no lip or anything. I mean, I guess it wouldn't matter, but it's good that it comes with a lot of tips because I don't know of any other tips out there that have this small of a bore opening. So you kind of are, at least for now, stuck with the ones that come with it. But the advantage of this is you have a very squishy tip. There's no hard pressure on what goes in your ear, so the comfort is a big plus with the Mach 60. Now, if we remove the tips and compare the weight against something like the Volare, you have a weight on the Mach 60 of 2.66 grams. And then if I put the Volare on, it's 5.94. It's over double the weight. I know this IEM is still $600 IEM, and it's built totally differently, has a different driver design. But I wanted to put that in perspective because size and weight does translate to comfort in addition to the shape. So let's get into that. Now you have a very flat shape here, and you also have a proprietary connector. There are some things I like and dislike about this connector design. First thing I want to start with is the inside detail of the IEMs have a red Westone logo and a blue Westone logo, so you can very quickly identify what your left and right is. Now when you transition to the cable is also proprietary, which is going to be a little bit harder to replace. It's kind of like an MMCX connector almost, only it's a little bit smaller. You actually have a color-coded ring on it as well. The left channel has a black ring and the right channel has a red ring, so it's pretty easy to quickly identify which side is which. Now I do like the way this connector behaves. I don't like that it's proprietary, but it's a really nice click. It's actually easier to click in and out than an MMCX connector. So one of the advantages of this cable being able to rotate is you can kind of set it in your ear, get it seated, make it feel good, and then position the wire or the hook to rest properly on your head. Some tube pins, depending on your ear or head shape, and may not always keep the cable in the ideal spot. This one really gets to tuck in on the inside of your ears, so it helps again with comfort. Now, when you look at the Volare, there's a big difference on shape and size, obviously. The hook design is a 2-pin system, and you can see the profile of it as well. If I turn, even if I'm looking straight, you can see a difference where this is sticking out. If I turn a little bit, you can see it's a lot more flush, sits different, and the difference there. Now, I'm not saying that by being smaller or larger, it's better or worse, but it does affect comfort. And the whole reason why I bring this up is if you're a side sleeper and you want to wear IEMs in bed or just lay down in bed with IEMs on, then you need something like a Mach 60 because the shell is significantly smaller. I've tried using larger IEMs in bed before and it becomes very uncomfortable unless I'm on a certain pillow or certain position, and sometimes I just take one out if that's the side I'm laying on. If you're wearing a beanie or you do like to lay down, that small size is helpful. It's also nice with long-term fatigue. If you get the right tip that fits your ear with no immediate discomfort, you can wear something like this for a much longer period of time. So the comfort is definitely on the higher end in this price range. Now you may have noticed how skinny this cable looked compared to something like this. The difference is pretty profound and it feels cheaper. So I will say that a lot of people associate thicker, heavier braided cable like this with higher quality. It doesn't mean it sounds better, but the perceived quality is better. I don't really think switching cables makes a big difference. Obviously with the proprietary connection here, that's going to be a little bit of a challenge anyway, but I didn't have any microphonics issue. There is a surprising amount of memory effect. You can see it's kind of springy. It doesn't really want to lay as flat. So it tangles a little bit easier than I would have liked. I do have to use this little slider here to get the cable to be less prone to tangling, and then it comes a little Velcro strap too, but you can wrap these up. I would definitely take care of your wire. It's not one of those things where I would just kind of crumple it up and put it in the pouch that it comes with, for example. Otherwise, you're going to deal with untangling it all the time. When it comes to sound quality, we're going to start with the objective side first because it takes my opinion out of it. Now, this is a database that's on the Squiglink website. These are all of my measurements, and I use an IEC 711 coupler clone. The Mach 60 has a very unique sound signature, in my opinion. There's not a lot of emphasized sub-bass, and it's followed by a heavier dose of mid-bass, which can increase the perception of boxiness or bloat or boominess to the bass. It doesn't sound really lean in any way. If anything, it could be perceived as thicker, heavier, a little bit muddier, and that does carry into the mid-range a little bit as well, depending on how deep the voice is. Because of this, some instruments will come across as heavier, deeper, bassier than they really are in real life, because it's also followed by a roll-off when you get into the higher frequencies. Anything basically from 2000 hertz to 5000 hertz is not as forward as I would have expected to or preferred for an IEM at this price range. The end result is it basically sounds like a heavier, boomy, dark sounding IEM that doesn't necessarily present a lot of detail out of the box. Now those measurements do translate into an actual listening experience. I find that the mid bass is a little bit too boxy and heavy, almost like there's a resonance in the shell because it's just too much, again, for me personally. And then as a result, the vocals don't seem like they're as forward in the mix. Everything's kind of pulled back. Now there are some pros to this sound signature. It helps reduce listening fatigue. So I think from what I've understood, these were kind of designed to be a low fatigue IEM. Whether that's worth $1,100 to you or not is your own personal opinion. I've always taken that part out of my part of the review because everyone values things differently. Now, I don't ever wear IEMs for that long, and when I do listen to them, I try to listen a little bit more critically. I get more into the music that way, so naturally I'm going to EQ it. And part of this review will be based off my EQ profile, which I'm showing on the screen now. If you reduce the low bass or the bass bloat at the 250 hertz by several decibels, it will clean up the mix a lot. That alone makes a big difference right off the bat. Now, I also targeted 3200 hertz or 3.2 kilohertz, and I did a Q factor of 0.707 with a lift of 3.5 decibels. You can push this area more if you want it to sound more energetic and bright sounding, but now you're starting to take away some of the fatigue benefits that this has out of the box. So I didn't want to like totally take away from the philosophy or goal behind this. And then to add just a little bit more impact on the low end, I boosted the sub bass as well. And it's up to you if you want to use a low shelf or just a wide Q of 0.7 and just target like 30 to 35 hertz. And that again will fill in the deep bass where this would have rolled off. When it came to bass impact and dynamics and punch, the BAs definitely have their own unique way of presenting bass. It's not as thumpy as a dynamic driver, but I was surprised at how much depth it still had. If you like listening to stuff with deeper bass notes, or deeper string instruments, for example, these do still perform really well. They're only let down if you want like a very hard-hitting bass note with deep bass with it. It doesn't seem to do both as well at the same time. I think the most noticeable weakness with the Mach 60 is more on the vocal side. It never really sounded as natural as I would have preferred. I don't know if it's just the driver tuning or the BAs that they used. It's all custom, so it's unique. I never found it like terrible by any means, but I have a pretty high expectation at $1,100. So it seemed a little bit natural, and this is keeping in mind that I'm comparing it to a lot of stuff that I'm familiar with. I have some pretty high-end IEMs and speakers, so I know how a lot of these tracks sound, and I feel like it colored it just a little bit even with some EQ. I did enjoy the treble of these a lot. It is so easy to listen to. I never had anything that caused me to wince, and that is a big plus. So if you are sensitive to upper treble energy and it causes ear pain, fatigue, headaches, whatever it is, the Mach 60's treble delivery is excellent. I really do like the way they tune that. So the Mach 60 is kind of a mixed bag. It kills it on comfort because you can't EQ a smaller shell or lighter weight. That is something you're stuck with physically, and whether you're okay with that or not, you have to decide that early on. I think that without EQ, it's outclassed at this price range when you compare it to even much less expensive IEMs. The Kiwi Ear Orchestra Lite, Bass Lite, brighter sound, the Dusk from Critical and Moondrop. I really love the tuning. I haven't been shy about expressing how much I like the $400 Dusk. And then the Valaria is just a Harman tuned IEM that has just a little bit less upper treble as well. So I like them all for different reasons. I'm saying all this because I don't want to excuse the performance. I think it should sound a little bit better at this price, but there are some merits to it. If you're concerned mostly with comfort, size, long-term listening, there are some benefits there. So hopefully you found this review helpful and you learned a little bit more about the Mach 60, whether it's the right one for you or not. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I'd love to see you at the next video. And that being said, take care, and I'll see you next time.